Oh, they stuck it way over there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City Hall Auditorium. I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, January 4th meeting of the Chicopee School Committee. Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In compliance with open meeting laws, we are right now live broadcasting and recording this meeting for future broadcast on Chicopee TV. At this time, I'd like to call for a moment of silence for all, we'll observe that for all those who serve in the military and for all those who protect us. Thank you. I'd also like to call for another moment of silence, and this is in memory of Barbara Cove. Barbara Cove was a former superintendent, and for 39 years she taught and worked in the Chicopee public school system. She taught as an elementary and special education teacher, was principal of Patrick Ebo School, was the assistant superintendent of schools, and finally superintendent for 7 years. The calling hours for Ms. Cove are this Thursday, January 5th at Serprio Memorial Funeral Home. And it's right on East Street in Chicopee from 4 to 7 p.m. And a liturgy of Christian burial will be held on Friday, January 6th at Holy Name Church on Springfield Street in Chicopee at 10:30 a.m. A moment of silence for Barbara Cove and all of her contributions to the city of Chicopee and our school district. Thank you. Sarah, could we have a roll call?
Mayor View?
Here.
Mr. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Barcelo? Mr. Doubt?
Here.
Mrs. Perrette? Mrs. Schofield?
Here.
Mr. Shumsky?
Here.
Mr. Lamoth?
Here.
Mr. Gerard?
Here.
Mr. Bernard?
Here.
Mrs. Lopes?
Present.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
10 present, 2 absent.
Thank you.
There's someone on TV. Mr. Bernard's on TV.
Oh, it looks like we're having a hybrid meeting, and school committee member Ron Bernard, are you joining us remotely?
Oh, I didn't hear him. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Ron, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Didn't hear him say he was here. That's all.
Election of officers. Every year, the school committee elects one position. That's the vice chairperson. Can I, at this particular time in the meeting, before we proceed with the agenda, it's appropriate to receive nominations for vice chair. Don, could I get a...
I make a motion that Mrs. Lopes be vice chair.
So one nomination for Susan Satella Lopes. Any other nominations? Don?
I move that the nominations be closed.
So we have closed nominations. We have one candidate for vice chair, Susan Satella Lopes. Can we take a roll call for a vote?
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Mayor View?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lamoth?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
10 yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Susan, on serving as vice chair for 2023. Excited to work with you through the next year. We'll go to public announcements by committee members, and I'll start to my left.
I love getting our area, our local newspaper, Chicopee Register, Chicopee Herald, and they cover our schools quite well. In my hand, I have an article about the AFJ ROTC, our students at Chicopee High School who laid wreaths across America. Really great coverage, some beautiful pictures in here. And then there's also a picture of our superintendent awarding Jovante, I believe, Gonzalez. He's a Chicopee High School senior. He was chosen as Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents as for his Academic Excellence Award. So I really appreciate seeing the coverage in our local newspapers, and it's fun to read about how well our students are doing and how hard they're working. Thank you.
Thank you. Don?
I'd like to offer the condolences to the family that lost a 5-year-old.
Thank you, Don. Grace?
All set.
I too would like to offer my condolences to the family who lost a 5-year-old boy, and I would also like to wish for Sophia to get a speedy and fast recovery. Thank you.
Thank you. Chet?
All set.
We'll go to my right. Doug?
All set, Mayor. Thank you.
Tim?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I hope everyone had a good holiday season. I know that, we're all wearing blue, wishing Sophia a speedy recovery. But just wanted to say that, we should all try to keep our spirits up. And congratulations, Mrs. Lopes, on your re-election as vice chair. Maybe Congress can take a hint and start getting to work on behalf of the people.
Thank you. And Jay?
I as well would just like to wish a safe and happy new year to all staff, students, and families. And as well, we obviously all support Sophia and wish Sophia and her family the best of luck in her upcoming surgery.
Thank you. And Ron is joining us remotely. Any comments?
All set for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And just quickly, today's a very special day here in the Commonwealth. We're swearing in our new delegates here in Beacon Hill. We're very fortunate to be recognized and represented by 3 senators, Senator John Vilas, Senator Adam Gomez, and Senator Jake Oliveira, and 3 representatives, Representative Shirley Arriaga, Representative Mike Finn, and Representative Pat Duffy. So it's a great day for the city of Chicopee. We have a great delegation and a team that'll be working for us in Boston and Beacon Hill. So it's an exciting day for them, and I thought I'd share it and wish them a sincere congratulations. I'll turn it over to the superintendent for public announcement.
Just a quick announcement, Mayor. Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody, and welcome back to all students and staff members. Everybody is talking about Sophia. Sophia Demers is a 6th grade student at Bellamy Middle School, and today Bellamy organized the Wear Blue for Sophia in support of her, who is going through a surgery soon for a rare disorder, and we all were trying to support Sophia and her family. So us, school committee, wanted to join in with Bellamy Middle School and wear blue tonight. So we wish her and her family well and hope the procedure is a successful procedure. So we're wearing blue for Sophia. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Superintendent. We're going to open up to public input. Speakers shall properly identify themselves with their name and address. Public input sessions have a limit of 30 minutes or 3 minutes for individual speakers. Speakers will be chosen first come. We have a list, and character assassinations and derogatory attacks will not be tolerated. Questions asked by the public may be referred to the committee or administrative staff for consideration and later response. We have 1 person signed up for public input. It's Laura DeMarcus, President of the CEA. Laura, welcome to City Hall.
My name is Laura DeMarcus. I live at 51 Westbrook Road in South Hadley. Is there anything else I'm supposed to say? That's great.
Just maybe try to talk a little closer to the microphone would be great.
Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
So I also wanted to come tonight and wish you guys all a Happy New Year and to say how exciting this year can prove to be. As we enter into a new year, I do have 1 question I would like you to ask yourselves all year long, and that is how and what are we doing to support our staff? We are at a very exciting moment, ready to interview and select a new superintendent who will lead Chicopee Public Schools down a new path. Your leadership will determine what that path will be. As you're thinking about that, I would like to remind you that the people who work directly with the students have become more important than ever in the success of Chicopee Public Schools. They are the direct line to student learning, parent and family engagement, building morale, and the base of our success. You can purchase new curriculums, you can buy new buildings or improve old ones, you can have a new superintendent, but the most effective impact on the students is the people who interact with them directly. I speak frequently with Mr. Morton about all of this, and hopefully whoever the next superintendent is will see the benefit of having and maintaining cohesive, collaborative relationships with CEA members. However, I want to address you on behalf of our members. This school committee is at a crossroads and at one of the most important educational times in your roles and the lives of our staff and students. No matter what you choose to spend the ESSER money on, or the SOA money, or the fair share money, no matter what policy you make or change, no matter what superintendent you choose, if you do not choose to support our staff, if you do not choose to listen to their needs, if you do not choose to see the changes happening and the effect on education and our staff, if you do not adapt with the changing times, you have lost a momentous opportunity. We have all heard and appreciated the many new curriculums, the new positions, the debate on a new building, but we aren't hearing how these things are going to help our staff and support those who have the direct relationships with our students and families. You've asked why staff are leaving. Have you asked them yourselves directly, or why they're considering leaving? We all know that folks aren't entering education like they used to, and they're leaving the profession all across the country, all across the states, all across this state. All the more reason to pay particular attention to your choices on budget, hiring, negotiations, and policy. Your choices will impact whether staff choose to stay or leave, whether they choose to come here or go somewhere else. The competition is fierce. Mr. Morton started this year by saying we are stronger together. The CEA agrees and would say that that should include the school committee as well, not just Dulong administration. We welcome you in our buildings to see firsthand what we do. We continue to welcome conversations with you so we can learn as much together as possible in these changing and new times. Please understand that people are listening, but they're really wanting to see what you do about it. We're asking for your decisions this year to reflect that you want staff of the highest quality, that you want to retain the qualified staff we have, that you understand from ESPs to VPs and everyone in between that we are exhausted, frustrated, and drained, yet continue to be very professional, very qualified, and very dedicated. We have what it takes, but it takes something different now. And we need you to acknowledge those things are different now. Times are changing, and we need your help and leadership to change and grow in that right direction. It is your responsibility, your charge, to make this a place where people want to stay. Make them want to come and spend their careers here. I urge you to think hard about the changes you can make in your policies and your management styles, your financial decisions, and your educational theory. We're excited and hopeful to see the direction you're going to take us in. We want to be here with you. We hope you will take advantage of this opportunity, and so we will be more cohesive, more dedicated, and better than ever, because we really are stronger together. Thank you, and I hope you all have a good new year.
Thank you, Laura. State of the Schools presentation. We have three special guests here tonight. You want to read them, Superintendent?
So tonight we have William Holt, principal of Edward Bellamy Middle School, Jonathan Endelos, principal or First Sergeant Kevin A. DuPont Memorial Middle School, and Principal John Leonard, principal of Chicopee Academy. Welcome.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for having us tonight, and I hope you guys have a happy new year, had a restful holiday vacation, as well as our staff and our students. Hopefully they had a restful vacation as well and back for a new challenge and a new year. So as we look at our building as a whole, we're just going to take a look at our slideshow here, and we're going to just run through a couple of initiatives, one as a building, and then one as a middle school unit with Bellamy and DuPont working together on an initiative as well. So briefly, we'll start with just who we are. I mean, very, very simply put, when you look at our demographics, we're about 702, 705, depends on the day. We get a lot of in and outs of students, a little bit more on the male side in our demographics, basically. When you look at, well, I'll wait.
Excuse me. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty here, and I'm sure we'll get it. There we go.
Yep, we're good. So we'll go through what our initiatives are, and then at the end, please feel free to ask us any questions as we go through this agenda. So we can go through our demographics like we just talked about. We're about 702 students, depending on the day. slightly heavier on the male side of our buildings. Next slide, please. And you look at our subgroups, over the years, we have trended into a more diverse population, not only just at DuPont, but in our district as a whole. You can see we're slightly with the district, slightly ahead of the district in subgroup areas, so our diversity has certainly risen over the last few years. Next slide, please. And lastly, who we are as a building with additional subgroups. When you look at our makeup of our student body, we have slightly a larger percentage of students that don't speak English as a second language. Our low-income population is in step with the district. Also, our special ed population and our high-needs population are slightly above the district levels as well, which means our students need more and more support and services along with our staff to educate these students. Next slide. So over the summertime, we had time to plan and figure out what we were going to do to start the new year and how we were going to address culture of the building. And we talked as an administrative group about a quasi-PBIS system, a positive behavior enforcement system, how we were going to help staff and students. So we came up with SOAR, Eagles SOAR, as our acronym to try to keep students organized, keep them safe, keep them accepting and accountable, and also respectful and responsible. And what does this do for us? It's a token economy system we put in place over the summertime to help reinforce positive choices, positive decisions, and that involves everybody from teachers, paraprofessional support, custodial staff, office staff, VPs, counselors, everybody in the building. And that is recognized for attendance, because that's one of our goals, is to improve our student attendance. So students get rewarded for attendance on a monthly basis. We're trying to improve the climate and culture of the building. Students are reinforced for positive choices, effort and conduct. Academically, the students that always make the right decisions, that always do the right things, and achieve every day, those students are recognized as well. And basically to make a positive reinforcement on all choices made by students throughout the building. That was our goal over the summertime. It's a token economy system, so we call them DuPont dollars. And our office staff, we made ones, fives, 10s, and 20s, and we give them out to staff as a kind of a bank each week so that staff can recognize students for their decision-making, their positive choices, their impact on their peers as well. On Fridays, we have a school store that the kids can redeem their DuPont dollars. They can redeem it for anything from a homework pass to a switch a lunch pass to school swag, that the district has supported this initiative from day one. Also, we've done, and it's starting to fade out, we've done gift cards with support from the PTO as well, to help identify those students that need the extra. Those gift cards provide extra opportunities, whether it be the movie theater, whether it be just to get something at Walmart or Amazon, food, anything that they can purchase with that gift card. We do change up the menu of items that they can purchase or redeem on Fridays at the school store, and that'll be changing as we go into the new year as well, just to keep it fresh and keep it different and alive. So that is our school building initiative that we've started this year, and we'll continue it all year, and we'll continue to tweak it as we go, using our school leadership team, using our PAC team, to try to take input, suggestions from staff as to grow it and make it better every day, every week, every month, every year. Okay, next slide. Please. Our next initiative is something that Mr. Holt and myself discussed over the summertime, working with Mr. Francis, to address our learning gaps in math and address our learning gaps in writing. And it has to do with the master schedule. We can't keep doing the same things every year and expect different results. We have to look at our master schedule as to how we're allocating our time, out of the box thinking creatively to get students more of the instruction they need. So what we've done this year is, instead of just straight tutorials, what we've done is we've taken the math and the ELA curriculum, and we've looked at our writing, we've looked at our math scores to try to address those two pieces. So with math, for 2 terms out of the school year, every student in the building, we've broken up the curriculum so that a math teacher 1 we'll call it, has all their students for geometry, statistics, and probability during those 2 terms. And then math teacher 2 will have all those same students for algebraic expressions, ratios, number sense, number patterns, all of those standards as well. So it gives both of those math teachers more time to divide and spend more time on each topic to get deeper, to try to address the learning gaps. Because too often, as we look at our pacing through the state, they don't have enough time to get through everything efficiently and deeply. So this was our method to put into the master schedule to give students more in math. The other 2 terms of the school year is devoted to writing. We've had empowering writers in the district as a resource, at least since I've been a principal in the district since 2013, as a resource. This year we brought that resource in as the other 2 terms for this support class, flex period, whatever you want to call it, to address the writing. Our students struggle in writing. It's a concern on MCAS. It's a concern on daily tasks with teachers. So for 2 terms, we went into purchasing Empowering Writers that has a successful track record to get these students these structured lessons on foundational writing skills to build them to be better writers from the ground up. So those are the 2 initiatives that we've worked on together as middle schools between the 2 to help improve that. We're going to look at our scheduling as well as we go into January and February as a leadership group to identify the weaknesses of this schedule, if there are any, and how we can improve it for next year. So that's a continual focus as we go into the winter and the spring for this school year. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Leonard, at the Academy, and then at the end you can ask any questions you may have of any of us, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Endelos. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice holiday season and a very healthy 2023 year coming up. So our numbers, these change, as we all know. We bring in students throughout the course of the year. Right now, we're hovering around 95, 96 students. It does fluctuate, but currently we do have a lot more females than we normally have had in the past, and it just works out that way. But those are our numbers of our students currently. In our building right now, with the next slide, you'll see our Hispanic population has gone up. I think that's been trending throughout the district, certainly in our building, and you can see all the different race and ethnicities in our building as they stand right now. Very similar to DuPont, we do have a number of, can you go to the next slide, please? First language is not English. We do have students where we do get some services come in on Fridays to help those students out. Our low income is pretty high. Our at-risk students is extremely high, and I think that's the, I think that's the message, and that's the barometer for the alternative school. I'd like to share with you on our next slide some of the things that we've put into place this year. Talked long and hard with the staff in August when we first came back together, trying to make the Academy a home, trying to make it where it's not a job to come to, where it's not a punishment for students to come to school every day. And we tried to come up with different ways to really entice the students and the staff, administrators, everybody, to feel good about the building. And we brought back a number of activities that we have done in the past. We weren't able to do a number of these, or any of them really, during the pandemic. And there's different philosophies behind each one of these. Attendance, we know, throughout the district and really the Commonwealth is a chore. And we've instituted our attendance breakfast, where we celebrate students who miss one day during the month. The following month, when we start off this week now with January, we look back on December. For students who did not miss any more than one day, I'll cook them breakfast with the help of some staff members. Staff comes in, helps serve it, helps set up. Some staff will make some homemade pastries and muffins and breads and things like that. We do it off of our main entrance right after our intake area on purpose. Hopefully the smell of the bacon sizzling, the eggs cooking, the pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes cooking, it hopefully entices more and more. Maybe because I'm not a good cook, kids don't want to come, but we do have an awful lot of fun in there. It's a very relaxed atmosphere. What I love about it is the kids sit at the tables, they chit-chat, but most importantly, at the end of every time when they leave to go to their first period class, every single child comes up to me and thanks me. And I think that goes a long ways for what we're trying to really accomplish, with the communication skills. After school, we want the students to stay after, not get on those school buses, not to get on a ride and stay after school and do something constructive. We all know a lot of kids go home, they stay in their rooms, they play video games, they don't get outside. Now with the winter months, they're all isolated at home. We want them to communicate, we want them to have some fun. So we put together a number of different activities, and some have been more successful than others. Some will pick up as the school year goes on. Ingenuity, our credit recovery program, I think has been very successful. We have a late bus on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and students can stay after, go into our computer lab, and continue some additional work on a class that they're taking. A lot of our kids will take ecology for science. Financial math is a great additional math course that is really everyday math, and it helps them budget, understanding interest, understanding cost of living and things like that. And I think it's a very worthwhile class for them. Some will take a health class. Some students will just take something as they get older with a class that they think they might want to pursue, whether it's CNA, whether it's nursing terminology, whether it's landscaping, when it's entrepreneurship. We've had upwards of 7 or 8 students on a given Tuesday or Thursday stay after in our computer lab, and I just think that's growing. I think that's a very good thing that we're doing. Team sports has always been big, trying not to always do basketball, trying to get more and more students involved doing different activities, whether it's volleyball, whether it's getting outside playing softball, or, believe it or not, frisbee golf, things that Mr. Boyke does in our gym classes, but where it's more staying after school and doing things like that. The district helped us purchasing different t-shirts for the kids, so we're able to give out different color t-shirts for them to wear for different team sports. We offer yoga. That just unfortunately hasn't taken off. We've offered it for our staff, to do something together, to do something healthy. When we had our last PD, we actually did yoga. We started the day off with a yoga class for, I think it was like 10 minutes long. Very simple. I could even do it, and we had a blast doing it. But those are some of the activities that we have put in place this year. There's other ones that we have also put in place. The second thing that we're doing, every time we get a new student, a new family for the high school, I sit down and I speak with them. And truthfully, for the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm reselling the academy. The reputation that an alternative school is for this type of student. And we all know it's not. We know it's a building, it's a philosophy where some students come to us not doing as well as they should be at another school. Maybe they sit in the back of the classroom and they're not engaged at all. They come to us in a smaller environment, they can get engaged. Some parents make the initiative to bring them to the academy. Some others need to come to a smaller environment for different behavioral interests. So I do talk about that quite often and lengthily to tell them what we really do at the academy. With Mr. Kane, who's here tonight, and I thank him. He's he's a brand new social studies teacher. He placed a legend in the academy who had been there for many, many years and retired last year, and we were lucky enough to get Mr. Kane. He took, with the help of his students, with the civics project, he built, and the kids really focused on this, they wanted to help with the reputation. They wanted to help getting positive messages, like Ms. Lopes read in the newspaper, get more messages out of what transpires in between our walls. They've created a Facebook page, an Instagram page, YouTube, which will be a little bit more challenging with the videos. Mr. Keynes is a supervisor. He proofreads everything that goes up. They've already put up a very nice interview of our new SPED teacher, Mr. Powers. That was just put up right before the holidays. The goal is to put up a new literature at least once a week. Other times there'll be many different things going up. When we get up to the MCAS schedule, we'll blast that out as a reminders for the kids. But we want to interview teachers, students, graduates, what they're doing now. How do they feel that the academy helped them? Parents, let the community hear from firsthand parents of students who are doing very well or are struggling but are making progress with our building. And I think it's a wonderful tool. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see where it really goes. And the kids are driving this. The kids will take, during Mr. Kane's classes, we'll do some interviews. We'll stay after school and take some pictures of the different activities that they're doing. Cafeteria, when we have, for let's say for Valentine's Day, we do some Valentine's cookies. We decorate those. They can celebrate that. They can take pictures and interview the kids for how they feel about that type of thing. So we're trying to really build up the building, because I really believe when you have good culture, a happy group, staff and students and families, I think the students are going to be better behaved. I think they're going to have a better attitude towards school, come in every day, improve their performance, and most importantly, reach new heights that these students have not reached prior to coming to the academy. So that's what we're trying to accomplish right now at the academy. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Holt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. So I'm going to start off with our enrollment also. Very similar, mirroring DuPont and the academy. We definitely have more boys than girls currently, just kind of how it all works out. We're about 12, just under 12% of the student population in Chicopee attends Bellamy Middle School. So that's kind of where we are right now. Again, very much a mirror as far as the district. We are a hair lower in Hispanic population and a hair higher in white population, but very much on par with what the district is showing also. And again, kind of mirrors again, low income. We're not quite at the district level, but on par with it. Same thing with the high needs. Our EL population's slightly under, but very much similar to what's present in the district. So, if you could click one more. There you go. At the end of last year, we kind of reevaluated things, and when I say we, the admin team and we noticed that there are quite a few times where we'd notice the same students out of class, or a lot of times students would be out frequently from class. And that was something we wanted to address. I think, Mr. Francis, you probably agree, even when I was a vice principal, that was something I was kind of always focused in on also. So we looked at a couple of different systems, and we ended up with this Smart Pass system. And what it is an online, every student gets an account, and they can create a pass. In the bottom left there, you can see all the different locations create passes to. We can monitor where students are, how long they've been out. We can track if they've been over limits, how frequently they are, who they are going with. Is it becoming a pattern? And we can then address that. The other nice feature about it, and I blacked it out and whited it out, so you see the student's face, you see the student's name. So in the case of a fire drill, a lockdown, we know exactly who's out of the classroom, where they are, so we can quickly identify and take accountability and make sure that they're safe and okay. So it's kind of a twofold system. We started it end of September. End of September, beginning of October. We rolled it out shortly afterwards, working with Mr. Endelos. DuPont rolled it out. We've seen some nice success with it. Definitely, the students are more cognizant of why they're getting out of the classroom, not as many students out as frequently. And it's a nice tool to sit down with a student or a family and say, hey, listen, Bill's been out of science class 7 times in the last 2 weeks, so do we need to adjust things? Do we need to change things? Something to kind of keep an eye on. So we started that system this year, and so far it's been a nice addition. The other initiative that we talked about as an admin group, and we wanted to break it out and include everyone, is resetting our core values. So what we established is 3 main pillars, and that's responsible, respectful, and ready to learn, or ready. And we identified areas. And those areas would be the classrooms, the lockers, hallways, stairs, cafeteria, and restrooms. And what we did is we used that Y chart on the right-hand side, and we started off with staff. And we said, what does it look like to be responsible, respectful, ready in these areas? What does it sound like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And we started with the staff. And then we brought in the students and did the same process with the students and took everyone's thoughts, opinions, suggestions, and kind of melded them, molded them into our 3 pillars. And we have expectations that the whole school is now adopted. We have these posted throughout the school, in classrooms, every single day. I end my morning announcements with, remember, Bellamy students are responsible, respectful, and ready to learn. They all know what that means. They have buy-in because they were part of the process too. So that was something that we were looking to obviously hammer home at the beginning of the year and reinforce throughout the year. Ties directly into our PBIS system that we already have on board, very similar to Mr. Endelos's at DuPont. We have BarkBucks, we have paw cards, we have a school store, and if the students earn, they can obviously redeem at those locations or for different incentives also. So that's the other initiative solely for Bellamy. At this time, I'd like to thank, in behalf of all the other principals, all of our staff for all the hard work that they do. I know it's difficult. We thank you for all that you do every single day. We also like to thank everyone who showed up here today in the school committee for inviting us in, for all your support. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to questions or comments.
Questions, sure. Sam Shumsky.
So I just have a question in regards to the Smart Pass. How exactly does that work? Do students log in through a phone or Chromebook?
Nope. They can use multiple systems, but they can just use a Chromebook, their own Chromebook. They all have their own accounts. There also is a kiosk system, so if they don't have a Chromebook, they can sign in just to a designated Chromebook, log into theirs, create a pass, go, come back, log out of the pass. Tracks how long you were gone, where you went, so forth and so on.
Are students respectful of those kiosks? And
Oh yeah,
do they
yeah. I mean, it's right in the class. It's just off to the side. Most students have. I mean, we're 1-to-1, so most of the time they just use the Chromebook that they have, and they'll just log into their Chromebook. It pulls up onto their account. They create a pass. Off they go.
And students are very responsible in regards to doing that Smart Pass system?
Yeah, yeah. Would you responsible in terms of using it? Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All set. Tim Wagner.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. This Smart Pass system, what does this look like in terms of an investment for the city? About how much did we spend on something like that?
It was like a per student, $3? I don't remember the exact. Yeah, it was about a $3 per student. The cost went down depending on how long you wanted to sign in with the company. Since it was our first time, we just did the 1 year just to try it out. And again, there were other systems out there. We kind of like this one more because of the features that it had. I will say, and I think Mr. Enlos would echo, it's a younger company. They're up and coming. They're still working out some bugs. But they've been very good in terms of walking us through some things, helping with some things. And I think as they grow, they'll obviously get better.
It was $12,000 per school, and we use grant money for it.
All right. And so we've built that into the budget going forward, or second?
We still have grant money because both the schools, DuPont and Bellamy, are both Title I schools. We can use grant money for it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Don?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Grace, you're next.
For this Smart Pass, you said the students go to the kiosk and they sign in. Does the teacher have to approve it?
Not always.
Not always.
No. If they're going to like the restroom, water fountain, they create a pass, they're off, they're gone. Teacher doesn't necessarily have to approve it. Are there situations where a teacher may have to approve them, say like going to guidance or something along that lines? Yes, there's possibilities of that, but not necessarily. They just, I created my pass, I'm off, and I'm going.
And how many students from a class at a time would be allowed?
So we can set that up, Don, Mr. Lamothe, I apologize. We can set up features all the time.
So if I went to the Smart Pass and I went to, let's say I'm in your class and
Sure.
Grace and I both take a turn to go off to the,
So it's one at a time. We also set limits at locations, so they could be like two per water fountain.
okay.
If it hits 2, you can't go until someone returns. 3 people at a bathroom or 2 people at a bathroom. We can limit number of passes. We can limit locations also. So there's different features. Again, that's kind of why we selected this one, because of the features it offer.
Okay. And I had a question for DuPont. Your flex period for math and for writing. Now, I'm not quite sure I understood what you were telling me. We have writing and math, 1 period a day, and then we have 2 periods for one in one semester and 2 periods for the other? Is that how I heard it?
So we have our core 4, right? Science, social studies, math, and ELA, our
Right.
core 4.
Okay.
In addition to that, we have a 5th period that breaks the year into 2 terms apiece to provide extra support, 2 terms for math, 2 terms for writing.
So I did hear that right.
Yep, 2 terms for math is specifically focused on geometry, stats, and probability domains. And then the other 2 terms are devoted with the ELA part to the writing, more specifically to response to text, persuasive writing, nonfiction writing.
And in your attendance improvement plan, you dedicated DuPont dollars, and I think, Bill, you said you do something similar? Has it shown improvement?
We've seen, so far, we've seen about a 2% uptick in overall attendance for the building.
Up or
But
down?
I'll say up, better.
Better.
And I will say, for the last 2 months, not including December yet, because I'm still tallying those numbers, for September, October, November, we had well over 300 kids each month that had 95% or greater attendance, which is typically either 16 out of 16 days in November, or 20 out of 21 days in September and October. So we've seen a lot there. So that's obviously a lot of DuPont dollars going out for attendance, but we're focusing on trying to keep kids in school, which obviously if they're in school longer, they're learning more. They're available for instruction longer.
Those attendance numbers seem to echo what it used to be like 3.5, 4 years ago. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're probably accurate. I haven't looked historically at those numbers specifically for this building.
But I know that the 3 years we went through COVID didn't help.
Correct.
Okay.
Very differently from the last couple of years, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, Grace. Yes, you were next. Chet, you're after Grace.
So I wanted to commend all 3 of you for the initiatives that you've taken to create a climate and a culture where children want to be, because if they don't want to be there, we all know how challenging that is, even prior to COVID. So I'm really happy to hear about the initiatives with breakfast and SOAR and the Smart Pass, Mr. Kane's program. I guess what that said, it's exciting to hear that, but I wanted to know about challenges that you still face, particularly like with staff to meet the needs of the students. I know how hard it is to find people. So what are your feelings, thoughts on that?
I will tell you, that is the #1 challenge when you watch the news, right? you watch what's going on, you read the newspapers, that finding educators to fill positions is the biggest challenge. I want to commend and thank school committee, Mr. Morton, Mr. Francis, Mr. Marecki last year for adding the positions to DuPont to better support the needs of our students. We have not been able to fill all those positions. That's not a secret. But we have staff members, rolling the sleeves up, doing the work every day, doing what has to be done. When staff are out, it's not enjoyable, but they'll fill in. They teach 4 periods a day. We have a lot of staff teaching 5 or 6 because of the gaps in staff. We have paras in the building that are filling the roles of teachers and doing a phenomenal job at that. Mr. Francis has come in a few times. When you walk in, you don't know who's who in some of the classrooms, whether they're a paraprofessional or a teacher. That speaks to the strength of our paraprofessional support as well. So while it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, we're moving in a direction. We just need to get more people to fill positions. So that is the challenge.
So we're here to support you in that effort. So if there's anything that we can do that you think of to increase that, please let us know.
Okay, thank you.
So Grace, I'm lucky enough where I hadn't had to really replace staff. I've only had to replace staff for retirements. I've been short in the middle school section for a student support teacher. That's been advertised numerous times. Last week, Happy New Year to me, found a gentleman, and he'll be starting, I think, next week, who I think will be a tremendous addition to our program. So we're lucky enough where we have everybody, all the positions except for one spot that's we're still advertising for. Like Mr. Endelos said, we've had, and I think, throughout the whole world, COVID's still out there. We've had, probably about a month ago, we had a rash of teachers, paras, administrators sick. And my teachers just rolled up their sleeves and just did a phenomenal job of filling in here, collapsing classes, just doing whatever we had to do because we're small. We don't have extra bodies. And I still remember, I send out a morning news every morning, important things that are going to happen. And I remember myself thanking them the next morning, how they accomplished what they did the day before. And then one of my clerks also said thank you because he was the one organizing teachers, covering this, paras covering that. And it's refreshing when somebody else thanks you, and I'm lucky that way with my staff, I think.
Well done.
Not every day is a home run. There's got to be a lot of frustration in a job. Would you make reference and share with us some of the good and some of the not so good?
So some of the good is the growth we've made in a short period of time. From last year to where we stand now, the staff have made a lot of impacts positively with our kids to kind of re-engage, re-regulate, get them back accustomed. Our staff have come in and we've lowered our class sizes. That's probably one of the biggest positive impacts that has taken place with the addition of the staff and kind of re-looking at our scheduling and how we roster kids. Those are the two biggest positives. There's probably more than that I'm just not thinking of right now, but the dedicated staff that are working every day in the trenches, that is the positive. The challenges are still the challenges. Students dysregulated, students social media, coming into school. That is probably our biggest challenge, that social media comes into school and how students communicate with each other outside of school versus in school, and staff being able to address it while still teaching and educating, and that administrators getting involved to put it out, to squash it, to do whatever, to react to it, to try to be proactive in any way. But those are the biggest challenges that I see.
I think our positives, we talked early in the year about building relationships, especially this year with coming off of COVID, coming off of 2 tough years, and to see the growth. We haven't done the fancy pass system. We're the old-fashioned way with passes, sign the children into the bathrooms. But I like it because it gives my staff an opportunity to have some small talks with the kids while they're in the halls, outside the classroom, in the cafeteria, to see teachers and other staff members outside in the morning having interactions with the kids, to get a feel, to get a pulse of how they're doing that day. Do they need some quick interventions? Do they need some extra time with an adult? I think those have been positives. To see some growth of some students that we weren't sure how they were going to come back this year, and to see how successful some of them are doing. The challenges, it's the most frustrating thing for us. We still have probably a handful of students that it's very challenging to get them to go to class, that they just continually will walk the halls. I can honestly say we've had more parent, administrator, counselor meetings this year than we've ever had before. Parents are frustrated. That's the biggest challenge that I see us having right now, to be honest with you. And it's frustrating, I know, for the teachers. I know when Mr. Morton and we go over the referral packages and we see some of the behaviors that the students that we're potentially going to get, and they're coming from the other 2 high schools, and it says, walk in the halls. And it's easy for them to really, to a degree, hide at the bigger schools. At the academy, you can't hide. We got that one hallway, and we got a staff member at the top. Some periods we have a second staff member. We have other people just walking through the halls. You're going to be seen. And you have a conversation with them. Let's go to class. Okay, I'm going to class. What class you got? Oh, I got science. Well, that's this way. Why are you going this way? You know, and it's challenging. And the parents are very frustrated with their own children.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
Did you want to comment on Chet's question?
We can skip. I'd echo a lot of the same challenges that my colleagues said. The level of how quickly students get frustrated, have reached their boiling point. It seems like it's gotten much more quicker over the years. In years past, we could kind of catch that and put things in place to kind of tone it down, but it seems like they're very quick to reach that boiling point more frequently. In terms of success, though, I mean, I have a fantastic staff, flexible, hardworking, dedicated. They really care. And also the fact, like today was Blue Day for Sophia, and it was just great to see that Bellamy family come together, kids coming off the bus, kids getting out of cars, staff members all wearing blue as a support. It's a really tight-knit, nice little family unit that we have at Bellamy. So that's a good feeling to have walking in every day to that building.
Thank you. I actually had one question. I'm sorry, Susan, did you have a question? Okay. One last question, I'm hopeful. And something that resonated with me last year at graduation was a student at the alternative school, John, and he had approached me and spoke to me after the ceremony and asked the same question, probably about 25, 30 times. How can I get him back into Chicopee Comp? So the question is how often does that happen when students end up in your alternative school, and if they're motivated enough to streamline back into Chicopee High or Chicopee Comp, has that happened very frequently, or is it a possibility? And if any of them are out there watching, maybe if their behavior improves and their grades improve, they'll have that opportunity. My advice to that young man was work with your guidance counselor, focus on your grades, and do what you need to do to be successful in school, and before you know it, you'll be back at Comp.
That's a great question, Mayor, and it's something that we do, or I address during my initial intake meeting. We do have a quote-unquote formal contract dealing with attendance, behavior, grades, progress reports, MCAS scores. Not necessarily, and I tell them this, not necessarily we want them to have a great score, obviously, and be able to obtain a high school diploma, which they do, but how hard do they attempt the MCAS? How long did they take? Did they just go in there and did it for 15 minutes? However, a lot of times at the end of the school year, it's not just my decision, the teachers help. Ms. Skiba certainly helps, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Lingenberg will help this year. We get together and we come up with a list. There's a lot of times when we say, okay, we think you can go back at this time, but they choose to stay with us. Not that they're scared to go back to the bigger environment, but they feel more comfortable in the smaller environment. We sent three, I think it was 3 or 4 students back this past summer to the middle schools and the high schools. I just had a conversation with one girl who wanted to go back to one of the high schools, and she's had a couple bumps in the road, a little too severe of bumps, and I talked to her. I had talked to her parents prior to it. We had a nice little powwow. She was very, very upset. She comes in the next morning, which I was shocked that she came into the school, but happy. She apologized for her behavior, and she will be a graduate at the academy this year. There's no doubt in my mind. So yes, and it is a focus for a number of students. They want to get back, and we do encourage that. Mr. Morton helps us out getting the students to the other schools when we do the referral meetings. So it's not a one-way street by any means.
Okay.
But they got to live up to. We don't want to send a child back to one of the traditional schools and have them not be successful. We want them to be successful. Otherwise, I'm doing them an injustice.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Jason.
Thank you. I just had a quick question about Smart Pass. So obviously the administration has access to the data from the Smart Pass in order to see the amount of time certain students are out of class and such. Is that correct? Do students and parents have access to that data as well?
So parent access is a new feature within the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Maybe they got it off the ground, and like Mr. Holt said before, it is a younger company. They're learning as they grow. We kicked off the parent pass about 5 weeks ago to parents. Parents can see at any point in time with a login, they can see their kids, how many times they've been out today, this week, this month, how many hours they've been out, why are you at the bathroom 15 times in one day, which can't happen now because we have the passes, the number of passes regulated, but they can see the amount of time they're out for that pass and why. So currently we have about 110 parents that have actively signed up for accounts for their child. But we continue to send out the invite. They have to accept the invite, and then that's all they have to do to log in. But it's a new feature for the parents.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Samuel, is that?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Jason had a question.
Okay, thank you. That was a great presentation. Appreciate the efforts. Appreciate the efforts of our principals and continue to make us proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll move on to approval of minutes 23-1-1.
Move that the minutes of the regular meeting of the school committee held on December 19th, 2022 be approved.
Susan, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Reports 23-1-2.
Report on personnel action. We do have one retirement. Maria Alvarado, paraprofessional, Stefanik Elementary School. Mrs. Maria Alvarado has been a paraprofessional at Stefanik Elementary School for over 22 years. The love and dedication she has provided for hundreds of students and families over the years are unmeasurable. She was extremely instrumental over the years in providing support for Spanish-speaking students and families, which brought together our community and strengthened our homeschool connection. Mrs. Alvarado was an integral part of the Stefanik staff. She was loyal, flexible, and a team player, moving around the school and into classrooms wherever needed. Mrs. Alvarado is the definition of a true Stefanik star and what you look for in a paraprofessional in the Chicopee Public Schools. Mrs. Maria Alvarado will be extremely missed at Stefanik, but we know that this retirement is well-deserved, and we thank you for your service to the students and families in Chicopee Public Schools. Thank you, Ms. Maria Alvarado.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? We'll move on to new business 23-1-3.
Move that the bills warrant S-122-322, totaling $497,238.51 be approved.
Don, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motions to approve. Chet, could you read the warrants into the record, please?
Surely. There are two warrants that I will read the collective totals of the two, and then we will act upon them individually. Athletics, $14,873. Food services, $147,052. General expenses, $59,617. Grants, $54,727. Maintenance, $124,780. Special education, $142,861. Reimbursements, $364.46. Student activities, $2,440. Telecommunications, $33,457. Utilities, $241,679, for a total of $821,850. And we will take those individually and act upon them in terms of a vote.
Thank you, Chet. We'll be voting on the first warrant. That's S-122-322, totaling $497,238.51. Any discussion on the warrant? We'll take a roll call.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Mayor View?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lamoth?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
10 yes.
Motion carries. 23-1-4.
Move that the bills warrant S-123-022, totaling $324,611.67 be approved.
Grace, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion on the motion? Chet has already read it. We'll take a roll call.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatella?
Yes.
Mayor View?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lamoth?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
10 yes.
Motion carries. 23-1-5.
Move that the following requests to the use school facilities be approved in accordance with the community use of school facilities policy. A, the Academy of Dance to use Chicopee High School June 8, 2023 through June 10, 2023. B, LHQ Dance Force and Wellness Studio to use Chicopee High School June 16, 2023 and June 17, 2023. And C, Westside Dance Center to use Chicopee High School June 23, 2023 and June 24, 2023.
Sam, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion is made to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
We need a roll call? Sorry, because Ron's not here.
School use, do we need a roll call? All set. Thank you for asking that. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, 23-1-6.
Superintendent search, announcement of finalists, and determination of details for finalist views, visits, and interviews.
So I would like to invite up to the podium, we have our chairman of the search committee, principal of Berry School, Kate Lambert, also chairman of the search committee, and I want to thank you, Kate, for all of your efforts and hard work in working with the MASC, and also your vice chair, Melanie Wilk, and it was a pleasure to serve on that committee with you. I will recognize that Bob Canton is here in the audience as well from the search committee, and if anyone else I missed, I apologize. Oh, Laura Demakis, our CEA president, and anyone else? Well, oh, and Ron Bernard, of course, who's joining us remotely, and our vice chair, Susan Zatella-Lopes, and Don Lamoth.
Thank you, Mayor. So again, like Mayor View mentioned, my name is Kate Lambert. I am a principal at Berry, and I was chair of the preliminary superintendent search committee. and I wanted to give you an update on what we discovered or what we're moving forward for this school committee to consider. So the preliminary superintendent search committee was composed of various educators, community members, parents, and selected school committee members. And through the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, we received 17 applications for the position of Chicopee Public Schools superintendent. After a careful and extensive vetting process by both the committee and the MASC, 7 candidates were chosen to be interviewed. 5 of the 7 candidates chose to participate in the interview process with our committee, and each candidate spent approximately an hour and 15 minutes answering a variety of questions tailored toward the many facets the role of superintendency encompasses. After a healthy and productive deliberation, the preliminary committee voted to move forward 3 candidates to the school committee for consideration as finalists for this position. The 3 candidates are Michael Richard, who is the current superintendent of the Union 29 Lee Tyringham Public Schools, Marcus Ware, the executive director of strategic initiatives for the Windham, Connecticut Public Schools, and Alvin Morton, the current interim superintendent of Chicopee Public Schools. We are confident that we have shared with the committee 3 candidates that each bring with them varied experiences and qualifications required to become superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you again, Kate. So now, as you can see from the order that's in front of us, we're also talking about the determination of details for the finalist visits and interviews. I just want to share some thoughts with the school committee because ultimately the decision will be made by the members who serve here. We're going to talk a little bit about visits to the candidates' districts. I would say that typically 2 school committee members will go to conduct a site visit in each of the candidates' current district. There are 2 ways to conduct these visits. The teams visit the district on the same day. The candidate is scheduled to visit Chicopee, which I think is ideally in our best interest to do it that way, and with the public interview in the evening. Or 3 teams visit the districts in one day. So I'd like to have that open discussion with the members of the school committee and kind of see what your think is in our best interest. We're going to go through, if I may, different phases. So we'll identify the dates for the visits. We'll also identify general time frame, typically 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Identify the teams who will actually go on those visits. We'll identify who the committee would like to talk to. For example, in the district, we can get some guidance from the MASC. Liz LaFond, who is our liaison, had mentioned that she would work with us intimately on helping new members of the school committee who have never participated in a superintendent search on what particular questions we may be asking. And I mean, we're talking about site visits, not interview questions. That we'll get to very shortly. On that note, my chief of staff, Mike Pease, while we were out visiting the members who choose to serve on those visits, and I'll say, the word I'm looking for isn't an orientation, but observation. I don't know why I can't think of that today. I thought about this 5 times. And Mike, when we were doing the observation, my chief of staff, Mike Pease, who served 30 years on this school committee, has been through searches, has offered his service to be the guide for the 3 candidates when they visit our school. So if it's the will of the school committee, I feel that Mike is very much neutral, and he would obviously be very respectful and treat them all exactly the same and give them those opportunities. For example, if they chose to visit a particular school, Mike could get them there readily and quickly without them having to try to find their way, and obviously make them feel comfortable in their visit here in the city of Chicopee. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made by the school committee, and I'd like to make a lot of them tonight. So I think we could, again, we can continue on, but I think the most important things right now are to, A, identify the dates for visits. We have tentative dates right now of Monday, January 23rd, Tuesday, January 24th, and Wednesday, which I would like to change to Thursday, January 26th, because we have a meeting that Wednesday, I believe no? Oh, we don't. So Wednesday, January 25th is available. Those would be the 3 tentative dates. Tim Wagner.
Those would be the 3 tentative dates for site visits for us to visit other schools, or?
So those would be site visits, and concurrently, while we're site visiting, they would be visiting our district, and we'd be also interviewing them that evening. So for example, if interim superintendent were Monday, January 23rd, we would be touring our own district, while he would be touring our district.
I'll be working.
I know that doesn't make any sense, so I picked the wrong candidate. So, for example,
I'll be here, Mayor, regardless.
Michael Richard is a better example. We would be going out to Lee the day that he would be here, and he would be expected and anticipate that his interview would be that night. So we have to decide right now, and I think it's appropriate to do so, how many people we'd like to send. Traditionally, it's 2, and we could pick 2 or 3 representatives to go those 3 days. And so first, I'd like to start with, would we like to do it that way, or would we like to have teams visit the districts in one day? Sure, Don, go ahead.
I have no problem visiting as a team, but I don't think we should send 3 different teams to go visit, because what I see and what Sue sees might be totally 2 different things. And how do I know what she saw if I don't have an opportunity to debrief her?
I'm not leaning towards that, so my recommendation, I'll just share it openly with the group, is that while, like I had said, they're here visiting our district, we send representatives to their district. That it seems to be the most appropriate way, and again, they would have the interview that evening.
And the only other concern I have is, it doesn't matter which order you go in, but if we're doing an interview in public, and I interview X, A, B, or C, C's got an advantage because he saw the interviews A and B. So how do we fix that?
I have spoken with our attorney and my chief of staff, Mike Pease, and I'm not sure whose idea it was, but it was a great one, and it might have been mine, so I'll share it with you. Ideally, we will publicly interview and invite the public to those interviews, but they will not be broadcast until, let's say, for example, that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which I believe it is. We wouldn't broadcast those interviews publicly on TV until Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So we would refrain from publicly sharing them on Chicopee TV or Vimeo or whatever it may be until all 3 interviews are conducted.
Good idea.
And I think that's the fairest way, so the public is welcome to come to the interviews and they can hear them. And I can talk a little bit about questions. I will recommend to members of the school committee that the questions, we're going to be getting some recommendation from Liz LaFont from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and also any questions that you have will be taken into consideration. I encourage you to send them to her directly, or if you'd like to send them to me as chairman, I will make sure she gets them. We'll compile them and put them together and come up with the most appropriate questions. Again, categorical and in the best interest of what we feel will best serve, and you'll be shared those questions prior to the interview process.
The only thing I see issue with that is, if I go to one district and I see something that's unique to that district, I may want to ask that candidate about that unique item. It may not be the same unique item in another district.
Well, you can ask that question, Don. That's something we can talk about when we get into the interview process. You may be able to answer that question to all 3. Even though they don't have it, you can ask why they don't. Or if they do, why they haven't. And again, we just want an equal playing field for all 3 candidates. So I hope I answered that question. So I think really the question that I would like answered, and we'll start with, is how we want to proceed. I believe that we should pick 2 representatives, or potentially 3 if that's the will of this board, to go visit on the day that they're visiting here. So we could start with that if everyone's on board. Is everyone comfortable? Sure, Doug.
Are we going to send the same, if it's 2 or 3, to each site visit?
Yes.
Or, okay. And the questions are going to be the same that we're going to ask for each candidate?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Grace, did you have a question? I'm not going to force you to ask a question.
No, I feel I don't know how, so what's the process for, I'm very interested in going on these interviews. So I don't like what's the process for, amongst us, for choosing these.
We're going to choose tonight.
Yeah, so we're just, what's the process?
Do you want
for-
to nominate, who's interested? First, we'll start with who's interested in going on the site visits. Okay, so we can not start. There's a lot of us, and so that would right there create a quorum.
Quorum?
There's too many.
How many?
Too many. So we're creating a quorum, and I don't think that's what we're looking to do. Even a subcommittee quorum could be potentially a problem unless we post. I think the intention would be to send.
You can send the same group to each district, or you could send, since you have a lot of people interested, split it up, and
So-
2 go to one district, another 2 go to another
I
district.
disagree with that.
And then, right, but I'm just explaining what the options might be.
Well, I will share this. The school committee, this is our decision to make, and it's a very important one, so we need to all, at least consensus-wise, get on the same page and try to do the right thing. So first and foremost, we can start with, ideally, how many representatives would you like to send to each district? And I agree with you, Don, I don't think we should rotate them. I think that for example, I'll say if Chet sees something in the first district and he doesn't attend the second district or the third district, he might have a different interpretation of what he saw or the questions asked. Or we could, again, uniformly put questions together that would help you to make sure you're asking the right ones. When you're attending a district, you may want to talk to the finance manager or the CTE instructor, and I'm just generally speaking, and ask specific questions about that particular district that you feel are going to help in decision making. Don?
Well, what you said is we can't send a quorum, so I'd like to send one less than a quorum and designate 5 people that are willing to go.
That's what I was going to suggest, too.
Because
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Right.
Cannot send a quorum, so therefore, I mean, I believe we could send 5. Becky? 5 is not a quorum. Right. But it might be a subcommittee quorum. Is that an issue? They're not a subcommittee. Okay. Excellent. So we can, what's the consensus of everyone interested in sending? Let me start with 2. Who's interested in sending 2? Just me? Anyone who's interested in sending 3? Anyone interested in sending 1? That was a joke. We're going to go to 4. 4? All right, 5. Who's interested in 5?
Don't forget about Ron up there.
Ron, is your hand up for 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
My hand up is for all 5.
So in the interest of the school committee, we're going to be sending 5 representatives, and now we have to determine that. Would you like to do it with a lottery of those interested? First, who's interested in serving? I have. Ron, are you interested?
I am, but unfortunately, I'm not available that week.
I was very interested until I found out that the candidate from Honolulu chose not to participate. So now I think I'll leave it up to the other members of the committee. We have, please hold your hand up high so I get a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I believe, Ron, did you say yes or no?
He's not available.
He's not
Cannot.
available.
So we have 5, right?
It is a no only because I'm not available, but I would love to go, but I'm not available to go.
So we have 6, and we're going to have to narrow it down to 5, and we can do it with a lottery, or we can do nominations.
Isn't
Okay.
a quorum 7?
Our vice chair has just said that she'd be willing to be an alternate if someone can't attend. The only thing I say for consistency,
Is a quorum 5, is a quorum 7 or 6?
So
we
can
could
we,
send
so we
6.
can send 6.
Wait, you
Can-
didn't put that one on the table.
you want to send 6?
Yeah.
Again, this is our decision to make, and it's a very
If
important
you
one.
got 6 available and it's not a quorum, I'd say send all 6.
We already had a consensus at 5. Do you want to go to 6?
I'd like to make a consensus at
So you're
6.
making a motion that we consider sending 6 representatives. It's pretty disruptive to a district to send 6 school committee members. You don't want to go? Susan, Vice Chair, just said she's willing to be an alternate. So I believe that we have our 5.
Okay.
So for clarity, again, if you could just, we can get your names and hold your hand up. Sam Shumsky, Grace Schofield, Donald Lamoth, Douglas Gerard, and Tim Wagner. The Fab Five, I think that's what we call them. Now, as for dates, again, we're under the guidance of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and I believe it's in our best interest to tour the schools while they're visiting ours, and I believe they should hold that interview that evening. Does anyone disagree with that? Typically, these tours, by the way, time frame, we're going to let them know we're coming is going to be from roughly 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Don, go ahead.
I got to throw a monkey wrench in just so that we can put it on the table. What happens if we have a major snowstorm on one of these days? For instance, we're going to Lee.
We'll have an
If the
alternate
schools-
day.
If the school's closed, do we have an alternate day?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to. And again, we'll invite the public, for those who are watching, to the interview. They can come here live in person, but we will not be broadcasting that interview on public television until after all 3 interviews are conducted. Tim?
Will there still be a Zoom option for members who may not be able to participate in the meeting in person?
Good question. Yes. We have to do that till March, so yes. Unless they extend the hybrid meeting, open meeting law.
What did you say were the times?
9 a.m. to 2, roughly. Okay, everyone on board with that? And I think, Ron, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just had a question.
Sure.
So after the site visit, is there going to be some time allowed for the 5 people to give all of us a report before the interview? How does that work?
Yes. From 2 to, we'll say, roughly 6:30. Within that period, the team will come back, debrief with the rest of the school committee, share the site visit, I'll call it verbal report with us prior to their actual interview.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next on my list, we can talk about identifying the committee. We've already done that. And who you want to talk to in their district is something I think is very important and something you try to be consistent with. And some of the examples I'll say, obviously, the mayor, town manager, school committee members, principals, teachers, students, support staff, education association president, because I'm looking at her, maybe the finance manager, facilities director. Scott, you're here, so I picked you too. But I think we should just have some consistency on what you ask and try to keep that, again, each district, same questions. Grace?
How about a couple of students?
Absolutely. They're going to know you're coming, and there's going to be, obviously, it's public now that the 3 candidates or the 3 finalists for our next superintendent is going to be in the newspaper tomorrow. Right, Jeanette? See?
It'll be online tonight.
Yeah. It's public. So, and lastly, I think we talked about who we're going to what we're going to talk about when we do the visits. The interviews will be tentatively around 6:30. Just wanted to let you know that. And the committee will interview for approximately 75 minutes. These will be, like I said, public interviews we've already explained, and they will not be televised until the final interview has been completed. And that pretty much sums up everything. I don't think I have anything else on my list that I'm missing. Oh, the other thing is, we had never really taken a vote, and I'd like to see if you're all in favor of Mike being our liaison to the finalists when they come visit Chicopee. Is anyone opposed to that? I couldn't think of a better person to do it.
Do we need to take a vote on accepting the finalists? No, we don't have to. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Mayor, we, our policy, our meetings start at 7, so we should have a motion to have the meeting start at 6:30. They're going to be posted as special meetings of the school committee starting at 6:30.
Okay. As long as I believe they're posted for 6:30, we'll be in compliance with open meeting law.
Correct. But we have a policy.
Oh, our policy says they start at 7.
Our policy says,
So
yeah.
since these are going to be called regular scheduled meetings, so we need a motion right now to change our start time to 6:30. Grace, you make that motion?
Motion.
Any discussion?
Do we have to
Any
have-
discussion? Don, do you want to discuss that change in start time?
I want to understand, you said we're going to have a debriefing. Do we have to put that as part of this and maybe move it earlier?
Is my understanding that debriefing will not be public, right? We can have it has to be public? Okay. So we cannot do that in executive session, so we will be doing that in a public forum as well. So our debriefing.
Do we need to bring the time down so that?
Yes. Hey, we're learning on the curve here, so.
It could also happen after the interviews, the feedback from the site visit.
Okay.
So if the
Return back
candidate
fr-
comes at 6:30, because the candidate's going to be in the district all day too, folks. So, you know, it's going to be a long day for everybody. So it could be after.
I apologize. So moving that time to 6 o'clock. We're going to do a debrief of the site visit. I think that's a discussion we can have after the interview because everyone's going to be asked very specific questions. I agree with Becky. So after they exit the public forum, they can come back and watch us afterwards debrief after the interview. That makes a lot of sense. Does anyone disagree with that? Doug?
I just have a question. I don't know how the rest of the colleagues feel on the board, but is there any way that we could have a day to report the findings and then have that interview process the next day? I just concerned the traffic or an accident or something. We'll be scrambling for time. By the time we get back, an hour drive from Lee's, 3 o'clock, and then we're going to have a discussion. I'm just concerned it may not be enough time to thoroughly talk about.
If I may, what we're going to be doing is an interview. And that interview will be, I prefer you hold it on that day. We get that interview completed, and then no decision is going to be made that evening. We're just going to do our interviews, and then we can discuss on how we're going to proceed in a public forum with the actual selection of the new superintendent. So I'm thinking that you'll be back around 3 o'clock. You'll have plenty of time, I would think, to relax. And you may not go all the way till 2. And then we wouldn't be back here until 6:30. And if the weather is bad, we'll reschedule.
So when does that discussion take place?
After the interview.
After the interview, okay.
I think it's more appropriate to have it after the interview. Anyone disagree? Okay. Sounds like a plan. And lastly, I've already encouraged you to come up with some questions and get those to Liz. She'll be reaching out either to provide us with questions, or if you have them, get them to her, I would suggest as soon as possible. And lastly, identifying the order of interviews. So obviously, it's very clear there's 3 candidates. It's been suggested that we do them in alphabetical order. Does anyone disagree with that? Anyone? Anyone agree with that? All in favor of alphabetical order for the interview process? Anyone opposed? So we can announce the interview process, which would be Alvin Morton, would be on January 23rd. No, we're going by last name. Or both. We can go by both if you. Alvin Morton, Michael Richard, and then Marcus Ware. Last name.
Mayor, you still have a pending motion from Ms. Schofield on the floor.
I have a pending motion. What was your motion again?
Change the time of the meeting.
Oh, yes. We have a
Change the
motion
time
to
of the
change the
meeting.
time to 6:30. Any discussion on changing the, again, it's our policy to have a meeting at 7. We'll now be having it at 6:30. All in favor? Aye. Anyone
I'm sorry,
opposed?
Mayor.
Roll call?
Yeah, it's a change in policy, so we
Change
need
in
a roll call.
policy is a
Thank
roll
you.
call.
Mrs. Lopes?
Yes.
Mr. Zatala?
Yes.
Mayor View?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Doubt?
Yes.
Mrs. Schofield?
Yes.
Mr. Shumsky?
Yes.
Mr. Lamothe?
Yes.
Mr. Gerard?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
10 yes.
Motion carries. Any other discussion about the superintendent search from anyone? Thank you. That was easier than I thought it would be. We'll move on to our agenda, 23-1-7.
School attendance zones redistricting requested by school committee member Donald Lamothe.
Don Lamothe.
Yes, we started redistricting last year. We redistricted some students from Fairview to Stefanik. As Mr. Francis classified that as low-hanging fruit because it was easy. But we're going to have to take a good hard look at the Fairview section, which has got 3 schools. And one of the things that I'd like to do is send out for a survey on, the last survey we had was well over 10 years ago, and it said that we'd be down to 5,400 students, and we're currently at 6,800. I'd like to have a survey done so I know what the future students look like, so that when we get to the next stage of redistricting, we're actually using more accurate numbers. So that's what I'm looking for.
If it's the will of the school committee, I'd like to respond.
Sure.
It's no secret that the city of Chicopee has been chosen to either renovate or replace Berry School, Don. And one of the things we are going to be looking at and exploring are all the potential possibilities of that, whether it be combining potentially schools and looking at population trends. So I think we combine that into one significant event rather than redistricting now and putting a
Mayor, I'm
doing
good with that.
what?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Just thought it would be in our best interest to include that in the eligibility period that we'll be going through, working with the MSBA. Any other discussion on that? I don't think that requires a vote of any sort. Just an open discussion. Thank you. Any other comment? I'm excited about Berry School if you hadn't noticed. We'll move on to 23-1-8.
Update on school facilities requested by school committee member Samuel Shumsky.
Yes, so I've been making an effort to try and visit as many schools as I can throughout the year, and I've noticed a common list of things that teachers have asked and just visual things I've seen throughout the schools. And with the Mass Mutual building up in the air, whether it's going to be purchased by City Council or not, I was wondering if maybe we can look into spending that $8.3 million on possibly removing rugs so we can update our schools to make them safer, because those rugs do harness bacteria, possibly. I'm not a scientist, so I can't really determine that for sure.
I'm not.
I'm
having a hard time hearing you.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
can you talk a little closer to the
Yes.
mic, please?
So when we spending the money to possibly remove rugs to update our classrooms to make them look more modern, updating libraries so we can get new shelves, new books, chairs. Screens in the windows is the thing that teachers ask a lot about in the older schools so they can get fresh air into the classrooms. Uniform paint colors in Bellamy, because I've been there, and the one wall's black, one wall's purple, orange, etc., stuff like that. The outside of schools, you see missing letters in the names of the buildings. I drove by Chicopee Comp the other day, and there was missing letters on the side outside. And flowers, like flowers in the pots, for instance, to make our schools look more welcoming. Just stuff like that. Maybe we can have a discussion in a subcommittee for possibly facilities to continue on to see if we can possibly update our schools.
Sure. Any other discussion? So do you want to make a motion to send this to the facilities
Yes,
subcommittee?
please.
So we have a motion on the floor to send to the facilities subcommittee. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 23-1-9.
Safety concerns, Summit Avenue, requested by school committee member Douglas Gerard.
Doug, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to bring this up. I received a request. The back walkway leading down to the behind Chicopee Comp, not the gate that used to be open, that's closed now. but there is a back walkway that leads down to the field area. On heavily attended games, there's a bunch of traffic up top, and there's a stop sign back there. A lot of the kids are walking into the walkway to get down to the ramp to get into the stadium, and the traffic is very, very populated back there, and it's becoming a safety concern. There's a stop sign, and cars are zooming through that stop sign, and we're just concerned that someone's going to get hit over there. So if we could maybe refer this, figure out a way that we could either maybe some water tables or maybe a couple more stop signs, but if we could refer this issue to the City Council and maybe the Public Safety Committee, to have someone do a visit and see what we can do over there, because the residents, are the ones that brought it up to me, and they're the ones that are concerned.
Thank you. And if I may, if it's the will of the school committee, I'd like to address that, generally speaking. It's no secret that there's been some pedestrian motor vehicle accidents here in the city of Chicopee. There's a lot of distracted drivers out there and potentially impaired ones. If you are impaired, we encourage you not to get behind the wheel. The technology in cars today with automation, these vehicles are very dangerous, yet less and less necessary to pay attention. And that's very concerning. And it's not just a Chicopee problem, it's a national one, if not a worldwide problem. It's no secret people are addicted to their phones. And it's more and more. When someone is pulled over for watching a movie attached to their windshield and thinks that's okay, there's a real problem. So I want to commend the police department for doing a PSA. I was a little bit involved with that, but I never thought, and I'll just share, in a million years I'd be doing a PSA on how to cross the street. But the city of Chicopee is kicking off a safety initiative. I'll call it a safety improvement project. And the goal is to take as much input. So Doug, we're going to put this on the list, have the city engineering department work with whether it be our professional engineers here in Chicopee or those potentially as consultants, to come up with whatever it may be in each particular location that's been brought to our attention as a high volume pedestrian access where we can enhance safety. So whether speed tables, which are being piloted on Front Street, are considered in other parts of the city is yet to be determined. We're going to see how they've worked through this pilot process, and ideally consider that. Raised crosswalks, speed bumps, flashers, ideally enhancing, whether it be visibility for those, narrowing, I'll call it street diets, bringing people closer together as they cross in a pedestrian crosswalk, ideally shrinking the distance you actually cross and making it more visible for those who are in the approach to cross the street. When you're in the approach to cross and you don't stop, that's a moving violation and a 6-year surcharge. Please understand that Chicopee is out there in full force, the police department, enforcing speeding, distracted driving, and ideally anything else that they see. And we have grants and overtime available, and we want people to understand that the rules are simple, please follow them. And if you're crossing a street, please be careful. But Doug, thank you. I'm going to put that on the top of the list. It's up there right now with Chicopee Street and the other lists of streets that I've been accumulating in the office. And our goal is to enhance some of the, I'll just share outdated intersections that need to be updated, crosswalks with beacons that are flashing, and again, exploring the possibility of raised crosswalk speed tables or whatever it may be to slow people down. So I hope that answers the question, and it is a concern, and it's one that's everywhere.
Do we need a motion for that, Mayor?
So the motion will be for specifically, would you like to send that to the Public Safety Subcommittee of the City Council? Yeah, we'll take a motion on that.
Okay.
So the motion is to sorry, Don, on discussion on his motion.
I want to ask him if this would be favorable to Doug. I'd like to have him take a look at the lighting coming down that ramp, because students are walking down that ramp in the dark, and after school, after sports, they're walking up that ramp. So I'm wondering if they could take a look at the lighting to see if there's anything to be done there too. So that would be
our school maintenance director is on top of that already. So thank you, Don, for bringing
He's on
that to our
top of that?
attention.
That's good.
Very good.
Thank you, Scott. He's already being proactive. He was there this morning checking it out. I'm sure it was dark when you were out there. So thank you for that. So Don, we don't have to caveat to or add on to that motion. So all in favor of sending to the City Council Public Safety Subcommittee? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And last on the agenda, adjournment. Oh, I'm sorry, new business. New business to my left. Anyone? Don.
I already talked about that. I would like to send to the curriculum subcommittee for internships that was discussed in the paper. It was mentioned that a curriculum needs to be formed, and I'd like to invite Mr. Winsphere to come in and explain to us what he's up to. Because from what I understand, it came backwards through the system. So I want to understand what's going on. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just want to understand it and know what's got to be done to the curriculum.
Okay. So we're going to send that to you.
Curriculum.
You're going to put that on the agenda for new business.
Pardon?
You want to put that on the agenda for new business? It's not on our agenda now, so it has to be put on an agenda first and
Okay,
then
put
sent
it on
to
the agenda.
and then sent to the curriculum subcommittee because it's not on tonight's agenda. So new business means it'll show up on our next agenda.
Fine.
And then you can refer it there.
No problem.
Okay. Any other new business to my left? Susan.
Just thank you to the hardworking staff at Sotelo School. I spent some time there today with Principal Reed, and it was amazing the work that's being done with our preschoolers in our city, our 3 to 5 year olds. And Principal Reed was wonderful with a family member today who was having a little bit of trouble enrolling her child in Sotelo School, but Principal Reed made herself available to us. She also made mention of our superintendent and our assistant superintendent who are really supporting the school and all the work that she and her staff are doing there. It was incredible watching a mom with her child in the carriage and 3 staff members were listening intently to everything that this mother had to say about her child and how these staff members, their dedication to this little guy, and my favorite line that I got out of my whole time visiting there was that your child is going to blossom after being at Sotelo School. We're going to watch him blossom very quickly, and I can't wait to go back. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Sam Shumsky.
I just want to express my gratitude to the search committee that selected the 3 candidates for superintendent, and I'm humbled and excited to be a part of the search for the next superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business to my left? To the right. Online. Ron, anything you want to share?
All good, thank you.
You want to entertain that motion to adjourn? Anyone? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great week.